From the moment the black leather bag hit the marble counter, spilling edges of $100 bills into the light, the lobby fell into a stunned, breathless silence. It wasn't the money that froze Madison's voice in her throat, it was the look in the man's eyes. Quiet. Calm. The kind of calm people only have when they're used to being underestimated. The kind of calm that hides storms beneath the surface. Madison didn't know it yet, but the next 5 minutes would rewrite her entire life. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of treating people with dignity, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. It truly helps more people see stories like this. Madison had worked at the Crescent Bay Grand Hotel in Florida for almost 3 years, long enough to recognize the difference between guests who pretended to have money and the ones who actually did. That morning had already been a whirlwind. 3 check-ins, a family arguing about room keys, and a supervisor reminding her to uphold elite standards because an ownership audit was coming soon. Her nerves were already thin when the man in the navy suit approached the desk, dragging the heavy duffel bag behind him. She noticed the wrinkles in his suit sleeve, the slightly scuffed shoes, the loose tie, details she had been conditioned to interpret as a lack of wealth. Maybe it was survival instinct, maybe it was fear of reprimand, but she judged him too quickly. Too harshly. She asked him what he needed. He said he wanted information about purchasing the hotel. She almost laughed, but her supervisor's cold expectations echoed in her ears, pushing out whatever kindness she usually offered. So she told him, with the slight roll of a tired tongue, "You don't look rich enough to buy this hotel." She hadn't meant it to sound vicious. But it did. The man's name was Grant, and he didn't flinch. Instead, he slowly unzipped the bag and turned it so she could see the bundles of cash inside. Madison felt heat rush to her face as shame washed over her. But even then, she tried to recover by offering a polite explanation, something about policy and procedure and misunderstanding. Grant simply studied her with a gentleness she didn't feel she deserved. Then, without a single hint of anger, he pulled out his phone. That call, just 30 seconds long, shifted the air around them. The way hotel security straightened when they heard him speak. The way the general manager rushed out of his office within minutes. The way Madison's supervisor suddenly appeared with a nervous smile, asking Grant if there was anything she could do for him personally. Every instinct inside Madison told her she had made a grave mistake, but she didn't yet understand how deep that mistake ran. Grant wasn't a wannabe investor. He was the sole heir of the private equity group that owned 17 luxury hotels across the country, including the Crescent Bay Grand. He had come unannounced to observe the hotel's treatment of ordinary potential buyers after receiving reports that its staff had grown dismissive and prideful toward anyone who didn't already look wealthy. Madison felt her knees weaken as reality tightened around her throat. She had become the exact problem he came to uncover. The general manager apologized repeatedly, hinting that Madison would be dealt with immediately, but Grant lifted his hand lightly, silencing the tension in the room. He looked at Madison, not with cruelty, but with something far more painful, disappointment tangled with compassion. He told the manager they would talk later, then asked if Madison could step away from the desk for just a moment. The request surprised everyone. Especially her. They walked to a quiet corner near the tall windows where golden sunlight poured onto the floor. Madison braced herself for humiliation or reprimand, but instead, Grant asked her one unexpected question: what made her speak to him the way she did? The question cracked something inside her. For the first time in a long time, Madison spoke honestly. She told him about the pressure from management to screen guests based on appearance. She told him about the way she had been chastised the week prior for helping someone who looked too plain to afford a suite. She told him about her fear of losing her job, her exhaustion from caring for her sick mother at home, and her struggle to stay gentle in a place that rewarded arrogance. Every word spilled from her like water through trembling fingers, and Grant listened, really listened, without a single interruption. When she finished, she expected anger. Instead, Grant sighed softly and told her about his mother, the woman who taught him that people's worth could never be measured by clothes, money, or appearances. He explained that he had intentionally dressed down to test the culture here, afraid that his late mother's hotel chain had drifted from the values she built it on. Hearing Madison's story didn't justify her words, but it did illuminate the real issue festering behind the scenes. What happened next would stay with Madison forever. Grant made another call, this time longer, more intense, filled with language about restructuring, rehiring protocols, and restoring core values. Within hours, the supervisor who had pressured Madison was removed from her position. The general manager was placed on administrative review. And Madison, expecting to be fired, was instead pulled aside by Grant once more. He told her he wasn't letting her go. He understood her mistake. He understood the weight behind it. And he believed she had the empathy and potential his mother would have cared about. So instead of punishment, he offered her a promotion, an opportunity to help rebuild the hotel's staff culture from the inside, ensuring no one else had to choose between kindness and job security. Madison cried right there in the sunlight as Grant told her that sometimes, people need one moment of grace to change the trajectory of their lives. He said he hoped this moment would be that for her. If this story has touched your heart so far, please like this video, comment your thoughts, and share it with someone who believes in treating others with humanity. Weeks passed, and the hotel transformed. Staff members were retrained with Madison's input. Grant visited often, not as an owner but as a quiet observer who encouraged warmth and humility. Madison found herself growing into a version of herself she thought had been buried long ago, confident, compassionate, unafraid to speak up for what was right. Before the ending, I have one special request. Comment below with the words, "Kindness changes everything," if you believe the world needs more stories like this. And so, the woman who once judged a man by his shoes became the heart of a hotel reborn through grace. Grant's one phone call didn't just change her life, it reminded everyone that true wealth is carried in character, not pockets. And sometimes, all it takes is someone who sees past your worst moment to help you step into your best one.